This is the Synthetic Signal Report for Friday, February 27th, 2026, in the afternoon. Today's report examines a major legal victory for device privacy in the 10th Circuit Court. The record-breaking $110 billion funding round for OpenAI, and a detailed update on the AirSnitch wireless exploit. We also track an under-the-radar development in large-scale de-anonymization using language models. Google's billion-dollar bet on iron rust batteries, and the escalating standoff between Anthropic and the Pentagon. A significant ruling from the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals has reinforced Fourth Amendment protections against broad digital searches. The court found that law enforcement cannot use a general warrant to perform a fishing expedition through a protester's mobile device. This case centered on the seizure and overbroad search of smartphones during civil demonstrations. The court ruled that police must provide specific evidence linking a device to a crime before searching its entire contents. This decision sets a vital precedent for digital sovereignty, essentially arguing that the sheer volume of personal data on a modern phone requires a much narrower search scope than a physical file cabinet. OpenAI has closed the largest private financing round in history, raising $110 billion at a pre-money valuation of $730 billion. The scale of this investment is nearly triple the company's previous records. Amazon led the round with a $50 billion commitment, an agreement that also makes Amazon Web Services the exclusive cloud distributor for OpenAI's new frontier enterprise platform. SoftBank and NVIDIA each contributed $30 billion. This capital is specifically earmarked for the massive compute requirements of the next generation of generative models. This investment confirms that the industry is moving away from software-only solutions and toward a vertically integrated model where the chip makers, cloud providers, and model builders are functionally inseparable. We have an update on the AirSnitch vulnerability first identified yesterday. This exploit allows an attacker on the same network to intercept data and launch machine-in-the-middle attacks across a wide range of access points. The research shows that AirSnitch targets the way wireless hardware handles client isolation. By bypassing these hardware-level boundaries, a malicious actor can view traffic from other users even if the network is supposedly configured to keep them separate. This is not a simple software bug. It is a structural flaw in how many popular access points manage data frames. Organizations using shared office Wi-Fi or guest networks should assume that client isolation is currently ineffective without additional encryption layers. A signal from the future has emerged from the research community regarding at-scale de-anonymization. New data reveals that large language models can now re-identify pseudonymous users across the internet with high precision. By analyzing conversations and pseudonymous profiles on platforms like Hacker News and Anthropic Interviewer, these AI agents can match a digital identity to a real person in minutes. This process used to take a human investigator several hours. The model looks for unique linguistic patterns, specific interests, and temporal data to bridge the gap between an anonymous handle and a physical identity. This development suggests that the era of security through pseudonymity is effectively over, as LLMs can now connect the dots across fragmented online histories. Google has invested $1 billion in Form Energy to deploy long-duration batteries that run on iron rust. This is a significant shift for the energy grid. These batteries use a process called reversible rusting to store and release energy. The most critical detail is the cost, which has reached a game-changing $33 per kilowatt-hour. For comparison, lithium-ion batteries are often 3 to 4 times that price for grid-scale storage. These iron-air units can store energy for several days, providing a buffer for wind and solar power when the weather is calm. This technology allows data centers to move toward true 24/7 carbon-free energy by decoupling storage costs from expensive mineral supply chains. Google's Chrome team has announced a new initiative to secure HTTPS certificates against future quantum computers. The Internet Engineering Task Force has formed a new working group called PLANTS, which stands for PKI, logs, and tree signatures. The primary challenge is that quantum-resistant encryption requires much larger digital signatures than the current standards. This increases the size of the handshake when you connect to a website, which can slow down the internet and strain network bandwidth. The Plants Group is developing new ways to compress these signatures and manage the increased overhead without breaking existing web infrastructure. The North Korean hacking group, known as APT-37, is deploying new malware specifically designed to jump the air gap. These tools are targeting systems that are not connected to the internet, such as those in sensitive government or industrial facilities. The malware spreads via removable drives, like USB sticks. Once a drive is plugged into an air-gapped machine, the tool can covertly steal data and store on the drive to be exfiltrated later when the drive is plugged back into an internet-connected computer. This confirms that physical security remains the only reliable defense for isolated networks. The deadline for Anthropic to reach an agreement with the Pentagon is approaching at 5:01 p.m. today. Negotiations have reportedly stalled. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei has rejected what the Pentagon called its final offer regarding AI safeguards for the Claude model. The disagreement centers on two specific uses: mass surveillance and fully autonomous weapons. Anthropic maintains that its responsible scaling policy prohibits its technology from being used for autonomous killing machines. The Pentagon has warned that failure to comply could result in Anthropic being labeled a supply chain risk, which would effectively ban the company from all future government contracts. The security community is currently tracking a cluster of vulnerabilities in SATA network switches. These devices use a broken MD5 hash for session cookies and have weak session identifiers, allowing attackers to predict and forge authenticated sessions. There is also a critical authorization bypass in the Fastify MIDI middleware that affects path-scoped authentication. On the hardware side, Intel mobile CPUs have shown a 95 times performance increase over the last 2 decades, moving from the 45-nanometer Penryn chips to the new 18A Panther Lake architecture. However, the cost of hardware is rising. DRAM memory prices are expected to jump by up to 100% in March, driven by the extreme demand for AI servers and high-end PCs. Finally, NASA has officially canceled upgrades to the Space Launch System and is revising the timeline for future Artemis missions, signaling a shift toward more sustainable, commercial partnerships for lunar exploration.